Welcome to the Rotary Club of Beaumont. We are the 72nd club formed in the world where our members serve to change lives. I'm glad you're all here. The weather outside is frightful. Being here together is delightful. Thank you. Those on Zoom, we miss you, but we're glad you're joining us. Certainly understand staying home today. We ask you just mute your microphone, please. And if you would check in on your, not the weather app, check in on Facebook or whatever page you're on, and check into Rotary. It was 34 years ago, under the leadership of District Governor Alex Broussard, along with club member, soon to be president, Tommy Polk, our club participated in Rotary International on a humanitarian project unprecedented in scale and consequence. Still underway today, Polio Plus has been by far the largest Rotary International program, the largest program Rotary International has ever undertaken. October 24th is recognized as World Polio Day in celebration of Jonas Salk. That's his birthday. He's the American researcher who developed the first polio vaccine in 1955. In 1961, Albert Sabin developed the first monovalent oral polio vaccine, followed by the trivalent polio vaccine in 1963, that has reduced polio worldwide by 99%. Let's end polio now. Joining me at the head table for invocation is Misty Fountain. She's the Associate Vice President, Business Development Officer, First State Bank of Texas. Our pledge is by Chad Mason. He's Vice President of Administration, Mason Construction. And introduction of guest, this is not Denise. This is Wes Shipley. Misty?
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this time you have given us today with our friends and our fellow Rotarians. We ask that you guide and direct our club, its leaders, and our actions. Lord, bless our fellowship today. Bless each and every person affected by this storm. Surround them with your love and protection. In your name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledges to our flags. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Good morning. I lucked out and got a short list with easy to pronounce names. So Jay Wilson has a guest this morning, Julie Strasberger. Oh, what's that? Very good. Yay. And then we have two members of the Lamar Rotaract Club who are here with us today, Madison Taylor and Christian Guillory.
Thank you, Wes. Wes is filling in for Denise McLean, who is, I'm sure, stranded in a car or safe at home. One or the other, don't worry. Also, don't worry. Our executive director search is underway. We're accepting resumes, but we stop accepting resumes after today. So if you or someone you know would like to apply for that position, please do so quickly. The position announcement can be found on the website. And if you know someone who would be a good match, who shares the Rotary passion like we all do, please encourage them to sign up, send in the resume. To report on board action, quickly approaching Dana Tomeas, our secretary.
Thank you, President Brad. your faithful, familial, fastidious, fervent, fabulous, fun-loving board of directors met yesterday, and I have the privilege of giving you a brief recap of what transpired. In membership action, we approved one membership proposal. Matt Uding, project manager, SETEX Construction, proposed by Uliana Tralowski. Matt's classification will be commercial construction - project management. Next, Dan French, one of our wayward sons, has decided to return to membership, and we've agreed to take him back. Dan is Dean of the College of Business at Lamar with classification University - College of Business.
Trading and storage may help you.
And because Uliana really wants to be part of the President's Club, she is taking credit for Dan the Dean, or Dean Dan, whichever. I'm obligated to tell you that if you have an objection to one of these folks, register that objection within the next 10 days. Jackie's back there, Brad's up here. Next, we approved a request to recommend a $500 donation from the Club Foundation to Sleep in Heavenly Peace, which is expected to fund the purchase of 168 pillows for beds that they will build and donate, unless, of course, Cindy purchases the pillows from the dollar store. And Sherry Pierce reminded us that we didn't cancel, but only postponed Wind Down with Rotary until 2022. That event is January 27, so there's still plenty of time to become a sponsor and sell tickets. More about that to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dana. John Lee, are you going to speak to us about Sleep in Heavenly Peace? Thank you.
We had a great service project on Saturday at Sleep in Heavenly Peace. We delivered 42 beds to kids in need around our city and to Port Arthur, Groves, and other cities. We had a great group from, I think we had 14 from our Rotary Club. We also had about 6 people from the Port Arthur Rotary Club. I think we had 12 from 100 Black Men of Greater Beaumont. And we had about 14 or 15 from Lamar Rotaract and the Helping Hands Club of Lamar. Those groups split up into teams and went out and put these beds together, assembled them. And when we put those together, when we leave, they have the bedding on them, the mattress on them, everything. It's ready to be slept in. And some of these kids, all of the kids are extremely grateful, but some of these kids were actually sleeping on the floor. So it is a great project. They had totally run out of pillows, which is why Dana said something about that. Cindy had to go buy a couple of pillows for her group and pay the exorbitant amount of $8 for those. But so that's why we're looking to do this donation. We will continue to do our partnership with Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and we will have upcoming projects in the future. So if you haven't gotten involved yet, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yes, we had a great crowd from Lamar Rotaract. Thank you for being there. You represent Lamar, you represent Rotary well in what you do for our community. As Sherry Pierce makes her way. Oh, yes. Yes, Mary. But let me talk for Mary. Make your way up, Sherry. So I want to remind you on behalf of Mary Poole, get your nominations in now for Vocational Excellence Award so we can celebrate those nominations. Sherry?
I know y'all will find it hard to believe that as loud an individual as I am, I was never a cheerleader. So I'm going to pass on the little 2-4-6-8 cheer that Amanda gave me. And I want y'all to know that we most definitely appreciate Designs by Sharon Kirksey, for hosting our next Rotary After Hours, which is tomorrow night at her home. And if you have ever been to an event at Sharon and Leonard's house, you will understand that you do not want to miss this one. It's 5:30 to 7 at their house. It's on Ridgeland. find the address in the link on your Rotary grams, or look for the cars when you ride down Ridgeland or the Coppola. But you do not want to miss it. 5:30 to 7, Rotary After Hours, great fellowship. And I will tell you, I've never been to an event at their house where I didn't want to just move in. So I'll see you all tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. I understand Sherry's confusion because I skipped ahead on the agenda. Floyd, I apologize. Floyd's going to talk to us about our efforts in End Polio Now.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Brad did a nice overview of our Polio Plus efforts since 1986. Rotarians have contributed $2.1 billion. We've served 3 billion children in 122 countries. The cost to vaccinate a child is $3. And as Brad mentioned, now the World Health Organization only classifies 2 countries in the world, Afghanistan and Pakistan, as endemic with polio. So thanks to each of you from this long journey, and we're not over with it yet. This month has been previously announced. We have a 2-for-1 challenge up to $1,000 to be matched by $2,000 if we get that. Brad, do you have a $20 bill? Oh, you
If
do?
I gave you 20 today,
It would be worth 60 by the end of the day. So Brad rephrased his "everyone bring one" to "everyone give one" before you leave today. Thanks so much.
2-for-1. Thank you, Floyd. And that's a return anyone would be satisfied with. Now, you've heard us talk about, if Lynn Hill were here today, she'd be telling you about a sign-up opportunity for Martin Elementary. They're having their fall festival on Friday. It's going to be all day during the school day, except for lunch, and there's sign-up opportunities for you. We need a couple of Rotarians for every sign-up slot, which is about an hour or less. So if you would go on the website, look for the Sign Up Genius and sign up for a slot to participate in the Fall Festival, they could use your help at Martin Elementary. Also, if Pat were up here at the front, he would be crying for help for the Flag Project. He's looking for volunteers to help with the Flag Project on November 11th, which is Veterans Day. So if you're a regular, please let Pat know if you'll be there on the 11th. And new members, we encourage you all to volunteer for this great Rotary project. Jackie, you're trying to get my attention. Mary Poole, welcome. You have a report for us, Mary?
I do. Good afternoon, Rotarians. Today is your final day to make your nominations for the, can't hear me? Can't hear me, Jackie? You guys can't hear me?
Mary, are you muted?
No, I'm not muted.
Mary, we can hear you. I don't know if they can.
We cannot hear you, Mary. Bum 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 bum. And to introduce our guest speaker, John Lee, he's the business advisor for Lamar University Small Business Development Center. John?
Good afternoon. In May of 2016, Erik Stromberg was tasked with becoming the first executive director of the Center for Advances in Port Management at Lamar University. This center is a one of a kind in this country that offers a master's degree in port management. Prior to coming to Lamar University and taking over this assignment, Erik spent 30 plus years working in the port and maritime transportation industries. He was CEO of both the AAPA, which is American something Port Association, sorry. American Association of Port Authorities, thank you. And the North Carolina State Port Authority. His career tracks back to 1982 when he was a congressional fellow and worked on landmark maritime legislation, the 1984 Shipping Act and the 1986 Water Resources Development Act. He then worked for the Federal Maritime Commission, where he was responsible for writing key regulations that implemented the 1984 Shipping Act. For the past 10 plus years, Erik has worked as a port industry consultant. We were very blessed to have him come take over as executive director of the Center for Port Advances and Port Management at Lamar. And I'll now like to turn it over to Erik Stromberg to tell you all about that.
Hi.
So we're all used to by now, after a year and a half of technology being our friend and our enemy.
Hey, John,
Uh,
we have
got it? All right.
there's a meeting of the research.
So I'm a
committee.
Swede. Me and technology get along like oil and water, but we'll work our way through it. The printer wasn't working this morning, so I'm going to see if I can start my introduction
I mean, if we don't want
by
it.
going through some words on the computer. So I need to keep track of the time. Brad and I were talking, and I told him I understand Rotary club ethics and customs. So I know you are all keenly interested in what I have to say about Lamar University Center for Port Management. But I also know that at the appointed hour, if I'm still talking, I will be talking to empty seats. So let me start out by invoking, and the Rotary Club is part and parcel of this whole mindset of the public sector and the private sector working together. That's fundamentally the nature of the port industry, and it is our Center for Port Management as well. So here in Southeast Texas, let's see, you can keep it on the first slide. Let's see. No, that's good. That's good. I'm sorry. You can go to the mission statement. That works. Sorry. Thanks, Jackie. Yeah. And I can see that sort of. So here in Southeast Texas, I've been most fortunate to engage with industry, the Southeast Texas Waterway Advisory Council, critical public and private sector interests along the Sabine-Neches Waterway. I chair the Education, Research, and Workforce Development Committee, workforce development being fundamental. And one of the main challenges that we face in our industry. And I'm going to talk today not only about the center, but about the port industry and some of the things that are going on in that space. So Sade Schick is a corporate affairs director at the Port of Beaumont, and she chairs the committee's workforce development subcommittee. And she's led our committee's work with the ISDs as well as two-year colleges to create awareness of what's going on along the Sabine-Neches Waterway. You know, too often the port industry winds up either not being understood, not being visible, and in some cases that works for us. We kind of like to work behind the scenes. Attention is usually winds up being for negative reasons. A ship sinks in the harbor, a crane gets overturned, there's a labor strike, or as we see now, we have a supply chain crisis, which is bollocksing everything up. Some marketers would claim that bad news is still good news because you're out there. But, and I guess I kind of look at it the same way. The challenges that we have in the supply chain are really putting a focus on some of the practices and the importance of the ports to our daily lives. I remember when I was running AEPA and somebody came up and claimed, you know, I don't really think that ports, we need to pay too much attention to ports, because everything I need, I get at Walmart. Understanding the supply chain now, we understand that stuff didn't grow on those shelves. So, but the awareness is really important, and Sade is doing such a great job working with the ISDs and the 2 years to develop that awareness. And so pay attention to what we're doing at SETWAC, pay attention to what Sade's doing, and I will certainly keep you all informed of some of the events that we're having. I know there's an education event coming up in April of next year. So I'll keep John Lee informed of what we're doing there. But there's a lot of wonderful opportunities. Now, my program focuses on management for private terminals as well as public ports. But there's so many other wonderful jobs in the maritime sector, and they're well-paying jobs. Truck drivers, tug captains, terminal superintendents, the list goes on and on. Not all of them require college education. I know college educations are increasingly being focused on, but I think we need to kind of let that pendulum swing back a little bit, because without a college degree, you can still find a wonderful career and good work and well-paying work. And certainly that's the case in the maritime sector. On the management side for ports, I will tell you it was a real challenge. Now, I've been in the industry for a long, long time. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I got into it in a sec. But, if you think about a port, all the infrastructure, it's capital intensive, right? You've got these structures, the docks, and some of these facilities at the Port of Houston, for example, are going to be costing almost $1 billion to develop a marine terminal. So it gets to be very expensive. So engineering is critical, strategic planning, business planning is critical, finance, real estate. Then you've got safety and security. There's just a wide array of expertise that's required to run a public port or a private terminal. Concomitantly, that puts pressure when you're trying to develop a curriculum that is going to educate folks who want to excel in the business. And that's really where our master's degree program is targeted. It's targeted at the working professional who wants to grow their career and advance it. And so we also get folks that come into that position, into senior leadership positions in the port industry from all of those areas. Now, they may not know that much about the port writ large, but they know about engineering, they know about finance, et cetera. For example, here in the Golden Triangle, Chris Fisher, in the industry, we call it coming up through the hawse pipe, which means he basically started from the ground level. He was a dock worker at the Port of Beaumont and just continued to succeed and grow. And as a result, we have a person who's absolutely wonderful that knows all facets of the industry. Larry Kelly began his career in trade facilitation. He's also a pilot, and he's also the first graduate of our master's degree program. So Larry holds a special place in my heart. Lori Taylor at the port, Larry, you guys know Larry at the Port of Port Arthur, I'm assuming. And then Lori Taylor at the Port of Orange is on the finance and accounting side. So, you just come into the industry from all areas, not necessarily understanding the breadth of all the things that a port authority does and needs to do. Now, most of the organizations that we deal with in the industry, in fact, in freight transportation, are on the private sector side. There's very few that are, if you're thinking about it, roads, so that's TxDOT, the port, which is publicly owned, but pretty much everybody else, the trucks, the rail, the ships, the cargo interests, that's all on the private sector side. And actually, if you asked Chris, Larry, or Lori, or just about any public port manager, do they think of themselves more as government workers or as business people? My guess is that they're all going to say business people. Now, that doesn't deny that there's a fundamental and ultimate accountability to the public. And that's really one of the fascinating things about this business that got me into it, got me involved, is that these are government-owned entities. So the public owns the facilities at the Port of Beaumont, at the Port of Port Arthur, at the Port of Orange, at the Port of Houston, et cetera. The public owns it, and the commissioners are either appointed or elected. Here they're elected. Most port authorities, they're appointed. So that's your link to the public, but the commissioner chooses an executive director who chooses his or her team to run the place like a business. So we'll take free money. Don't get me wrong. If there's a public grant, the Port Authority will be in line to accept that. But fundamentally, that Port Authority has to generate revenues that cover its expenses. So it needs to be run like a business. There are advantages. We don't pay property taxes. There are some cases where it's payments in lieu of taxes and corporate taxes, but we do need to fundamentally meet our bottom line requirements. John Lee, thank you so much for the introduction. My initial journey into the industry came about because ports have to be by water. I thought so, but they don't all have to be by water. We have some Washington State ports that are actually inland. These are public enterprises, but it was a notion of a public enterprise, what I've been talking about, set up in the progressive era back in the early 1900s to sort of offset primarily big railroads who were coming in and buying up all critical waterfront property and turning it into their own fiefdom. They're using it the way that they wanted to make a profit, and that may or may not be in the interest of the local community. So public enterprise, public corporations, government corporations, however you want to phrase it, evolved as a result of that, thinking that waterfront is scarce. We're not growing waterfront. We need to have public control of the waterfront. So public enterprise was created to assure that that would ultimately still be in the public hands. So that fascinated me. I loved it that, we're setting up sort of a business-like corporation to do the public's good. And then the second factor was the connection to the water. I was a sailor when I got out of the Army a zillion years ago. I discovered sailing, first racing around the buoys, and then blue water, racing and delivering boats. And I could have done that for a long, long time. But when I did look up some of my buddies that were then in the ancient decade of the 50s, and they were still, driving sailboats around, I says, nah, I like this a lot. And my bride-to-be's mom was also wondering what exactly it was that I did. So I figured I needed to get serious. And I went back to school at the University of Washington and got my master's degree in marine affairs, which is kind of a cool sounding master's degree. It could mean almost anything. And then Sea Grant Fellowship put me into DC, and then just things really wonderfully evolved. So let me talk now about the center, and we can get into the supply chain mess. And before I go further, let me introduce Chris Klott. Dr. Klott has just come to Lamar over the last month or two. He's a visiting professor, hails out of Chicago now, was with SUNY and has a long history, and especially focuses on technology and technology-based solutions to the issues that we're dealing with, and supply chain management. So, he's a very timely hire. We're looking forward to a wonderful 2 years and maybe longer. We'll see if we get lucky. But it's great to have Chris with us. So Let me turn now to the slides. Let's see, where are we? Jackie, I have no idea. I sort of touched this one. You're doing great. I really appreciate this. So center activities, perfect. We have 3 buckets of activities, of responsibilities that we engage in. John Lee mentioned the master's program, and that really is why I came to Southeast Texas. There's, throughout my career, we've talked about it. I've talked about the need for the industry to have an advanced degree, one that recognizes the professionalism of the degree, of being a port director or a senior leader, and also would allow, as I mentioned, the breadth of responsibilities that a senior leader in the industry must be familiar with, and hire people that are experts in that space. So we are unique in North America, in fact, in the Western Hemisphere. Briefly, the reason that this came about is because Ken Evans, the president of Lamar University, who left to go back to be closer to his kids in Oklahoma just a couple months ago, came to Southeast Texas, looked around, and saw all the activity on the Sabine Neches and said, okay, people run all these facilities. Now, how do they get trained to do that? And he was told the same thing that we have realized throughout the decades in this industry, is that you learn it through OJT, on-the-job training. So he said, well, wouldn't it be better if we had an advanced degree in this space? He said, that could be good. And if it were online, then we could get students. They wouldn't have to necessarily come to Lamar. They could take these courses anywhere they sat. The other advantage of it being fully online is that I can access industry experts. Now, it's nice to have Chris here come down, but I've got folks that are teaching in our program from throughout the US and Canada and beyond, giving guest lectures. The wonderful ports in North Europe, Antwerp and Rotterdam, just, actually in a lot of ways, they're more advanced than we are in terms of technology utilization. So where am I, Jackie? So we're talking, no, go back one. I got carried away on the master's program. Back up to the previous. So we also do continuing education, and that kind of goes back to the SETWAC chairmanship. We put on now their webinars, and we're sort of migrating back to face-to-face like we are here. It's really nice when you can actually see and, hug and shake and masks, and we need to wear masks, but it's really nice to have the dang thing off. No, go back one more, because we also do, there we go. We also do research. We've been generously funded by the state of Texas. So we support Lamar faculty primarily in the engineering college, but also in business and in computer sciences. And we can work outside that space as well. So we can partner with other universities in the state to do needed research. And I don't know if I may have a slide on some of this stuff that we actually go another one. Let's see. Okay, we do. Okay, so I'll touch on this one. We have not only the master's program, but we're developing a DASH degree. Chris has come down to help us develop a DASH degree in supply chain management. My passion has been in strategic asset management, which is doing a better job managing assets, critical assets, with the dollars that you have to spend on those, and making sure those dollars get directed in the right way. And we're looking at a supply chain management certificate as well. So a lot of exciting stuff, academic as well as non-academic. Go ahead, Jackie. So this is some of the technical stuff about the master's degree program. It's sort of taught by faculty from the industrial engineering, as well as the MBA program at Lamar. And then half of the courses, so there's 12 courses, fully half of them are taught by industry experts as adjunct faculty. Again, taking full advantage of the online nature of the program. And it's a reasonable price too. $14,000 is not bad for a master's degree. Go ahead, please. This is the curriculum. As you can see, it covers covers a lot of bases, which it really needs to. And it's in flux. We're always looking to develop various aspects of it. And go ahead, please. And that's our faculty. And go ahead, please. These are some of the research projects that we've done and are currently have underway with a really smart faculty that we have at Lamar. Oh, lots of stuff, but one of our real stars is Mariam Hamidi, who, when we realized the Lone Star Harbor Safety Committee is sort of the corollary to the SETWAC for the Houston Ship Channel, and they were going to redo the Beltway 8 bridge that goes over the ship channel. And as they were kind of figuring out, well, how are we going to do this? This is a huge project. How are we going to figure out how to take that puppy down, put another one up, and not, I mean, there's billions of dollars of cargo that go through the Houston Ship Channel every month. So how do we not mess up that flow? And I says, don't your optimization models, can't they address that? Can't they help them out? And she said, oh, of course. And so she got with the Harris County Toll Authority, and she actually developed the schedule for their contractor for the demob and the construction of the Beltway 8 bridge. So just really cool stuff. And I will tell you, it's so heartening to me, being an industry guy, to introduce these really smart people at Lamar and say, okay, here's this industry, here's some of the issues, here's some of the problems. Can you help solve that using, the methodologies that you've been learning from books and in classrooms, all this? And it just works really cool. It makes me smile. Okay, so what else do we have, Jackie? Our continuing education, really it's a full-time job to put these things on, but it's through SETWAC. You can see some of the key topics here that I think are very timely. We had a great one on women in transportation, leaders in the industry, from California to the East Coast, talking about how they as women got to assume the positions that they had. And I think we're getting better. When I started in this industry, you could look around the room and you wouldn't see hardly any women. You wouldn't see any people of color. So that all is changing, which it needs to change. We can't turn our backs on half of the population, right? Especially the smarter half.
That's right.
Okay, Jackie. Okay, so there it is. I really appreciate your time. And one more slide for if you have any questions or comments or want to reach out to us, please do. And thank you again for the opportunity. This is wonderful.
Eric, I think that we have time for questions if you would.
Oh,
remember.
sure.
Yeah, we have, yes, one question in the back. Yes, ma'am.
I thought we might get a question about supply chain. So what the heck is going on at San Pedro Bay? You got 60, 70 ships. What were we thinking the other day, Chris? It was $22 billion worth of cargo that's sitting on those ships while they're waiting to get in. And they're waiting for days and days. Well, we have a supply chain problem. The ports are one node in that supply chain. Fixing the problem at the port doesn't fix the problem in the supply chain. We are buying more stuff. We are demanding that stuff get delivered. We have labor shortages. The 24/7 issue at the ports does involve some pretty tricky challenges working with contract labor. But I will say that if you fix the problem at the port and get it to operate 24/7, you also have to make sure that the warehouses where those cargoes go and get transferred from, either rail or truck to domestic vehicles, domestic trucks, they need to be open too. I mean, think about the supply chain as a pipeline. We know about pipelines here. So think about it as a series of pipes, and you've got some that are 24-inch, you got some that are 48-inch, you got some that are 6-inch. So you want to make sure that you put your money where there's a 6-inch pipe that's blocking everything up. Some cases that might be the port. Some cases that might be, truck drivers who are not available, warehouse folks who are not available. So it's a fascinating issue. Chris, you want to add anything? Yeah. All right. I think we had, we had this wonderful concept of just in time, and that's working when it's working. But when it's not working, you're depending on everything happening and the handoffs happening. I'm sorry, you hit a great question, and we probably spent too much time on it. But if there, yes, please. Right. Yeah, no, as Chris was mentioning, this is a problem that is not going to get fixed overnight. But the good news is that coming out of this, we're going to have solutions. We're going to have that coordination that you're talking about. There are antitrust regulations that can get in the way, but I think we're seeing clearly the need for folks to be talking to each other and communicating, realizing that the handoffs need to be coordinated, better coordinated that they are. Just in time was driven by efficiency. That works really well. So you're allocating people and resources exactly where they need to be. But we found out that we were smarter, as the British say, than we needed to be by 1/2. We may need to back off and build a little bit more capacity into the system. We need to use technology, which is coming along. If we see what's going on in North Europe, the use of artificial intelligence and Internet of Things and all of those wonderful technology innovations. So it's really a comprehensive set of issues, and we really do need to get our arms around it. You're okay? Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are technologies, we're familiar with blockchain and those sort of distributed ledger systems, which offer a vehicle. We're seeing some of the biggest shipping companies in the world, like Maersk, develop sort of those technologies so that their supply chain can, you can work that supply chain. So yeah, it's not going to be solved overnight, and we're just going to have to figure out how to best live in this new world.
One question.
Yes. On our website, and if you reach out to either me or Candace, we can definitely, and if actually, yes, so we'll make them available. If you have a topic or an idea that needs to be researched, please let me know. As I said, with Dr. Hamidi, it was just, instead of doing research on things that were of interest to her and maybe a half a dozen other PhDs, she was doing research that was really important to the state of Texas, to all those folks that had a stake in the Houston Ship Channel. It turns faculty on. So if you've got a research idea, let us know. We'd love to turn loose the smart folks that we have at Lamar on solving a problem. Great, Brad. Thank you so much.
That's fascinating. Thank you, Erik, for giving us insight into what you're doing at the Center for Advances in Port Management. Thank you, Chris, for joining us today also. And I'm sorry if our Zoomers could not hear Chris or his response, but should have been here. Anyway. But thank you, Erik, for being here. As an expression of our thank you for being here, the Rotary Club is making a contribution to the Rotary Foundation to our End Polio Now campaign in your name, Erik. Thank you very much. So next week's speaker is Ira Wilsker. He's from Lamar Institute of Technology. He's going to talk to us about how we can protect ourselves and our businesses from a cybersecurity attack. So you'll want to be here. And remember to stay after for Vocational Excellence Award nomination. Hand it to Jackie before you leave today, because today is the deadline. It's also the deadline to get your application in our executive director search. If you yourself are interested, or if you know someone who is interested and can share the passion of Rotary and be our next Jackie Chapman. And I promise you, she's not leaving because of me. Or maybe she is, I don't know. And also sign up for Martin Elementary Fall Festival. We just need you for 45 minutes to an hour at some time slot on Friday. And the program committee was supposed to meet. Are you still meeting today? The program committee is meeting today for some good conversation, and you'll meet at the back table. See you, Uliana. And thank you, guests, for being here today. Thank you, Rotaract, for being here with us today. And thank you, Misty, Chad, and Wes, and John for being at the head table with me. You represent us also well. And remember, our theme this year is everyone must bring one. And those who recruit a new member will celebrate with me at the end of the year for dinner on me. And Sherry, you're trying to get my attention. Rotary After Hours tomorrow, Thursday, at the home of Leonard Junker and Sharon Kirksey on Ridgeland. And only Sherry can say Ridgeland with so many syllables. So on Ridgeland. So if you would please stand with me and say the things, the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do first. Second. Third. And fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. Have a great week and serve to change lives.